One of the deepest, most fundamental questions that humans have ever asked themselves is, where does knowledge come from? Do we have knowledge built into our brains kind of innately through the process of natural selection and evolution? Or do we learn everything we know from experience?
Human brains are incredibly complex machines. They are composed of billions of neurons assembled into microscopic constellations that allow us to experience the world we live in. We know when something is near, when something is far, when something is music, or just noise. Some things come so easily that we don't even realize we're doing them.
When you look at a face, you don't really look at a face and go, okay, these are the eyes, this is the nose, this is the mouth. You can look at the whole thing and immediately recognize that person, which to me is actually kind of wild to think about.
This ability fascinated Canwisher, which led her to peer inside her own head.
I was the first subject. I looked at a bunch of objects. I looked at a bunch of faces. And then we went running into this little room next to the scanner console in the middle of the night to analyze the data. And boom, here's this nice big blob.
That blob is called the Fusiform face area. Canwisher was the first to discover it.
The fusiform face area is a region that responds much more to faces than to anything else. This is a 3D printed model of my brain based on my own MRI scans. And so the fusiform face area, you can see it's oriented like this. So now if we turn my head like that, this is my right hemisphere. And if we turn it over to look on the bottom, the fusiform face area is right there. So on me, it's right here. On this brain, it's right there like that. We found it, God, probably 50 times in my brain. And now in hundreds and hundreds of other brains as well.
The discovery of this optimized brain region feeds into a long-standing philosophical debate.
Famously, the British empiricists, including Hume, argued that most of knowledge comes from experience. Whereas others, like Kant, famously argued that you have to build in some structure into the mind in order to be able to use experience at all in the first place.
Canwisher's discovery allowed this philosophical question to be framed scientifically. Do we need to see faces to develop the fusiform face area? Or is it just there, ready to do its job in everyone?
So we wanted to take a whack at this, and I thought it would be particularly interesting to use the experience of touching faces.
To do so, Canwisher has been working with people who use their sense of touch to navigate the world. People who have been blind since birth.
There's a lot that I know, and there's a lot that I experience that's not visual, but it's still imagery. I'm interested in what being blind tells us about, not only about blind people, but about the brain in general.
Lindsay is one of 15 subjects in the Canwisher team's study. In their experiments, the researchers present subjects with a carousel of 3D printed objects and measure how brain activity changes as the subjects figure out what they're feeling.
I was in the scanner listening to the beeps in my ear. Every time I heard an auditory beep, I would move the stimulus by 1, and the instructions to the subject were just to feel the stimuli. We never told them what the exact stimuli were.
There are 4 types of objects on the carousel: chairs, mazes, hands, and faces.
It's interesting to touch these things. Hands are definitely something I've touched a lot more than I've touched faces, just because it's something that's more accessible.
When Lindsay touched the plastic hands, the fusiform face area remained dark. But when she touched the faces,
You see this massive activation in this part of the brain, which is actually the fusiform face area.
their results strongly suggest that the fusiform face area is hardwired in the brain.
I find that just astonishing and thrilling, and it radically changes my view about what that region is and how it develops, and that's exciting.
But as the team scanned more blind subjects, the picture became less clear.
We are seeing big differences from one subject to the next, more than we see with sighted subjects. Someday we'll figure out why some of them show it and the others don't, but right now we haven't figured out what that difference is. So right now, it's just noise. Every later big scientific insight starts out as noise in someone else's experiment.
All of us have really amazing brains. What excites me so much about this research is to think about blindness as just another alternative life experience and focusing on what we can learn about people's capabilities.
What's cool about studying the brain is that's where the mind lives. I don't actually care about where the bumps are and the folds and the goo. I care about the mind. That's where the mind lives. By studying the functional organization of the brain, I think we're looking at the structure of the human mind. And that's who we are. What could be more fundamental than that?